Hey, what's up, Knife Tube? Okay, today I want to talk with you guys about something that is spread around within the knife community, be it YouTube, Reddit, comment sections, Facebook, Instagram, anywhere basically. And what that is, and it's something that you will hear continuously. Now, you won't hear it so much from people who are sharpeners, or at least experienced sharpeners. You will hear it from people that are more, how do I say this without sounding like a jerk? People that are, have a little bit of sharpening experience or zero sharpening experience. Your better sharpeners, your people that really understand sharpening and knife steels, you will not hear this from. But the people that don't understand knife steels from so much from use, they understand it from things they read or things that they hear others say. That's the people who make these claims. Okay, and like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm calling anybody out or I'm saying anything. This person don't know what they're talking about, or that person. I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to clarify stuff. And I know this video won't get a lot of views, which is sad because these videos actually need to be seen by people, because that what's said incorrectly by others scare people away from these amazing steels. And they shouldn't be scared away from these steels because they really are amazing, and it's fun to use different steels, and sharpening is fun. It's very relaxing, it's very rewarding. But okay, without rambling too much, we have, just top of the box right here. I didn't want to grab out 100 pieces, but just, the first 7 pieces, 7 pieces that was on top of the box that are, considered by many incorrectly to be difficult to sharpen, or no, let me rephrase, hard to sharpen steels. Okay, that's where we're getting at. When, people are making statements of, for example, crew wear. I don't have a crew wear piece up here. Crew wear being, a very hard to sharpen steel. Or S9DV. Boy, it's going to take forever. When you sharpen that, the edge is going to last forever, but when you do have to sharpen it, it's going to be a nightmare. Or, Maximed, Rex 45, S90V, XHP. Okay, that's, and then you'll hear the statements of, you have to have expensive sharpening gear. And okay, yes, steel, like Maximet, for example. Yes, you really only want to use diamond or CBN on that steel. Diamond or CBN is going to make any of these steels easier to sharpen. Not easier, that's the incorrect word. It's going to make it quicker. Now, there are steels that you really only want to use diamond or CBN on, Maximet being a perfect example. But, you'll hear it all the time, and this is very annoying to me. You'll hear, this is a hard steel. Like S30V, it's a hard steel. S30V is typically run 58 to 60 Rockwell, just like D2 or 8CR or 14C. They're all 60 Rockwell is 60 Rockwell. Now, yes, S30V would be much more wear resistant than 14C at 60 Rockwell. But if both are at 60 Rockwell, S30V is no harder than 14C. In fact, I would almost be willing to bet most 14C is actually ran a little harder than most S30V is in production notes. So it's just incorrect information like that. And you know, when you're telling somebody, you know, yeah, it's going to hold an edge so good, but when you finally do have to sharpen it, it's going to be a nightmare. You know, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so hard to sharpen. That scares people away. It makes people not want to try these steels out. When in reality, and the whole, you know, you have to have all these special, you know, expensive special stones to sharpen these steels. I can sharpen anything right here to a hair popping edge within a few minutes, even if I've completely cut the edge off, within a few minutes with this right here. It's the $15 tool. Even if I had no skill at all, right there's me at 20-degree angle. Lay the edge, you know, lay the knife flat against this. Make a pass, make a pass, make a pass. Raise a burr, flip, do the same thing. Few alternating back and forth passes to knock the burr off of it. Bingo, sharp knife. What's hard about that? It doesn't matter if it's S90V at, you know, 62 Rockwell or Maximed at 67. What's hard about that? Anybody can do it. And no, it's not going to take 3 hours to sharpen this knife once it's dull. I've showed that how many times? You know, when I'm just doing a quick edge. Not when I'm doing full sharpenings and talking to you guys and it's a 40-minute video, but when I'm just trying to show how quick you can develop an edge. And using this right here. The simple fact of the matter is, if I cut the edge off of this S30V, and I cut the edge off of this Maximet, and I take this right here, I can sharpen either one of those knives. Now, going by what you would hear them say is, oh, you know, this is going to take you a while to sharpen, but you're going to be there for hours. I can literally cut the edge off of both of those steels, use these 20-degree guides, so I'm not doing, you know, there's none of my skill level involved. Lay the knife flat against this, make a pass, make a pass, make a pass. Raise a burr, and repeat, you know, flip, repeat. I could, either one of those knives, I would have back to a hair shaving edge within, from cutting the edge off back to a hair shaving edge within, on this, I'm going to say a minute and a half. Now, I would be able to do it a little faster because I'm an experienced sharpener, but so I would say for me, I probably could do it in a minute. However, if I'm doing it at a slow pace that my wife could do, or, you know, my kids could do, 3 minutes to a sharp knife. What's hard about that? There's not anything hard about that. Sharpening is sharpening. It does not matter what the steel is. It doesn't matter if it's 5CR or Rex 121. Sharpening is sharpening. The only difference is two things: abrasive requirement You're not sharpening Rex 121 on aluminum oxide. You're going to need diamond or CBN. So, abrasive requirement, the type of abrasive you need, number one, and number two, time. However, keep this in mind, cheap diamond plates. Diamond or CBN is far, 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 far harder than any steel matrix, ceramic matrix, doesn't matter. It's far harder than any steel, blade material there is, and far harder than the carbides. So, if I'm taking something that's not very wear resistant, like let's say 14C, and Maximet, and I'm working on this stone, I've cut the edge off both of them. Yes, I'm going to remove material faster on this stone or this diamond plate than I would the 14C. I would remove the 14C faster than I would remove steel from the Maximet. But not a lot faster, because it's diamond. It cuts that Maximet just as easily as it cuts that 14C. Not exactly, but close. So, and that's why I said, so if I took a piece of 14C and this Maximet right here, cut the edge off, it would take me probably a minute to have it back to hair shaving on this right here, on both knives. Now, the 14C, yeah, I'm going to raise the burr a little quicker. But not much, because this diamond don't care what it's cutting. It's going to cut it. It doesn't matter what it is, it's going to cut it. CBN, same thing. So it hurts people that look up to these people and see them as experts. And I'm not saying they are or aren't, but they look up to these people as experts and that they know everything. And when them people are telling them, yeah, man, S90V is going to hold an edge forever, for a long time, it's going to do so much cutting for you. But when it finally does go dull, man, you're going to be there forever sharpening that thing. It's going to be so hard you just can't believe it. And you have to have, you got to have special stones to do it, and it's so difficult. Now that person is terrified to go try out new steels, or if they say they bought a knife in S90V or whatever, now they're scared to death to use it because, well, I'm not going to be able to sharpen it, and it's eventually going to go dull. That's just not right. I mean, yes, it's going to go dull. I wasn't saying that. I meant it's just not right to make these statements. Just like it's wrong to make the statement of hard steels. And calling S90V a hard steel, or S30V a hard steel, and then calling 8CR at 60 Rockwell a soft steel. 60 Rockwell is 60 Rockwell. In fact, if you go look at most production S90V, it's like 58, 59 Rockwell. Your average 8CR 14C Nitro V is going to be harder than that. It's going to be probably 59, 60, maybe even 61 Rockwell. And that S90V is going to be 58, 59. So hardness and wear resistance are two different things. Wear resistance is created by the composition of the steel, the carbides, the type of carbides they are, and the amount of the percentage of carbide. that is within that steel matrix. 60 Rockwell S90V, 60 Rockwell 14C, they're the same hardness. The hardness of the steel matrix is the same. S90V is full of hard carbides that's going to drastically increase the wear resistance of that steel. But over the 14C. But hardness, that would be the same hardness. No steel is harder than the other steel. They're both 60, they're both 60. If they're both 57, they're both 57. That means the hardness is the same, only the wear resistance will be different. So it's just stuff like that. It's misinformation by people talking that they have read, they think they understand, they don't, but yet they speak as experts. They're not talking from actual understanding. They're not talking from, in a lot of cases, even experience from use. And that hurts the community. Like, you know, people call an XHP such a hard steel to sharpen. XHP's a baby. XHP is a wonderfully, easy sharpening steel. Even if you just got silicone carbide, abrasives, XHP sharpens so nicely. It's not a long wearing steel. It's just a very nice sharpening steel. And if you're on diamond, it's just as quick as any. It's just as quick to sharpen that as it would that 14C that the other person's saying is so easy to sharpen. And then, also you hear, people claiming, I'm not going to say that actually, never mind. I'm not gonna go there, because I don't want anybody to think I'm speaking directly at somebody. I'm not. I'm speaking in general. In fact, if you go back through my videos, I've said this many times. I'm not speaking at any person. I'm speaking to everyone who does it as a whole. Be it Reddit, YouTube. It's really bad on Reddit. But it's starting to be kind of bad on YouTube as well. And then, it hurts. It hurts people that are wanting to try these steels, but they're scared to. I'm not big by any means as far as, subscriber count or anything. Now, I do, my TikTok, actually, I don't have a ton of subscribers, but, I have posts that get quite a bit of views. I pretty regularly will get, 10, 20,000 views. And I get many DMs a day. And those DMs, in a lot of cases, will say, hey, I'm kind of new to the knife community, and I really want to try out K390, for example. But so and so, I've heard so and so say it, and I've read it in their comments, and I've seen it here and seen it there. That's just such an incredibly hard steel to sharpen that when it gets dull, I'm gonna have to find somebody to sharpen the knife for me, because I don't have no sharpening experience. So, and it's such a hard steel to sharpen. What do I do about that? Is it really as hard to sharpen as they say it is? No, it's really not. Again, a $15 pocket sharpener, diamond plate pocket sharpener, that's got built-in angles. K390 is a very lovely sharpening steel. Sharpens for its incredible edge retention. you know, really great toughness considering its edge retention and how hard it's ran, and being, not overly corrosion sensitive. It's actually a very easy steel to sharpen. It's a very nice steel to sharpen. But I get that, I get it so many times. I literally, maybe not word for word, 10 times a day, but they're asking me the same thing 10, 20 times a day. That's my little reach, getting that many people to ask that want to try these steels but are scared to because of what they hear the YouTubers that they look up to say. And again, your sharpeners, people who, especially your sharpeners, because they're the ones that really learn the steels intimately. You feel, as a sharpener, you feel the steel. You as you're removing it, as you're making passes on the stone, you feel how the steel reacts. You feel what's happening. You see the wear resistance differences. You see how the finer grained steels come up keener with a little stickier, and the high carbide volume steels are a little more aggressive, and the edges don't come up quite as sticky as the really low alloy fine grain stuff. Like as you sharpen, you literally get a first-hand feeling of it. So you learn the steels very, very intimately from removing metal. It's the best way I can explain it. And your knife makers, we know, we really get a first-hand, experience at how wear resistant this steel is, and just the nuances between steels. So that knife makers and sharpeners really do understand this stuff very deeply, especially like people who really take it seriously. So you won't get that kind of information from them. Most of the people that are saying it and really putting out the bad information are the people who are just repeating things they've heard. And the knives that they're discussing, it's not like they went out and really put that knife. It's not like they went out and dulled that knife and then tried to sharpen it and got their ass kicked. Like, that's not what it is. They're just kind of repeating and putting their own twist on things that they hear others say, and then you get bad information spread around, and it scares people away. It bothers me when I get people to say, I really want to try these super steels. I really want to see how different they can be. I want to see how much better they perform, but I'm scared to buy them because I'm not going to be able to sharpen them, and when it finally does go dull, I'm going to have a knife that I'm going to have to send off to somebody, to get sharpened, or I'm going to be scared to use it because I'm scared to get it dull because I won't be able to get it back sharp. It makes me feel bad. These steels are very fun to put in your pocket and to use because the performance difference can be quite astronomical. And it's fun to go, you're at your job and you cut up an insane amount of boxes with your Maximat. You broke down a ridiculous amount of boxes, did far more cutting than you need to just because you're having fun doing it. And that knife is still just zipping through paper like it's a fresh edge. It's cool. It's where you're piece of 14C or HCR or whatever would be almost completely blunt. You know, you would have, the edge would be worn away, literally. It's cool, but if you don't know, if you're scared that, well, when it finally does get dull, I've got basically something that is worthless because I can't get it back sharp, then either you're not going to buy it or you're not going to use it. And that leads to the next thing. And that's the whole toughness thing. And you hear statements like, these two right here really catch it. You hear this, you know, yeah, Maximet, it cuts for so long. It's such great edge retention. But, man, that stuff's so brittle that, you know, you snap a tip off that thing if so easy, or if you hit a staple, you're going to knock a chunk out of that edge and it's going to take you hours and hours and hours to sharpen that out. Again, that is not true. While Maximet is very hard, and if you took this piece of steel and smacked it against this table really hard like that, yes, you're probably going to break this blade off right here. Or if you dig in and twist really hard, yes, you could snap it. But you know it's a very hard steel. So why would you do that? You use the steel as how it needs to be used to give you good performance. You don't want to use that. There's no reason that you should snap that blade off. There's no reason. You know, or S90V, it's so fragile. Like, man, you're cutting through some cardboard and you hit a little staple, you're just gonna wreck that edge. You're gonna knock a giant chip out of it. And you know, it's so hard to sharpen. Like, okay, that's just not true. That's just not true. Yes, it's not a tough steel by any means, but neither is 1095, and those same people claim that 1095 is, you know, unbelievably tough, and 1095 at 60 Rockwell or 62 Rockwell is not much tougher than S90V, really. Especially, you know, to impact, like, and edge deformation, like, you know, it's a couple foot-pounds, 5, 6, 7 foot-pounds at 61 Rockwell. You know, that's less than S35VN. And S35VN definitely is not no tough steel. It's just, but that's it. It's that kind of stuff. It's just incorrect information that's spread around like it's absolute facts, and that these people are speaking from experience and first-hand knowledge, and in most cases they are not. They are simply repeating what they hear by somebody else who don't know as well. And, you know, then you get the whole, well, man, my buddy, he's got a knife in S90V, and like, that thing, it's just so brittle that, you know, it's such a hard steel, it's so brittle. Like, you know, you're just cutting a piece of wood and you chip the whole edge out. Bullshit. That's not true. That is factually not true. But, you know, old Uncle Randy, he told him that, and now that's, or you know, Bobby down the street, man, that S90V, that's some Brittle stuff, buddy. That's one hard steel. It is so fucking annoying. Anyways, do me a favor. Don't believe the basically hearsay. Go to people who know, who actually work with this stuff, who actually understand it. Listen to what they got to say, and when it just sounds like it's parroted information that one says and another one repeats, don't even just watch them, but just don't those parts when they start speaking on steel and just kind of tune out the bullshit. Listen to the people who actually work with this stuff and know. And for God's sake, don't be scared to try super steels. Go get you a piece of Psyche City Spyderco K390, and you'll absolutely love it. And guess what? When it does go dull, bingo. And you'll have a good sticky edge right back on it within a few minutes. Or S90B. One of the best EDC steels there are. Literally one of the best EDC knife steels there are. It's so good. You have this stuff will cut and cut and cut and cut and cut some more. And no, it is not crazy brittle. And no, it is not so hard to sharpen that you're going to be there for hours. It is just a fantastic, high performance, ultra high edge retention stainless steel. That is what it is. XHP. Another darling steel, especially from Spyderco and Cold Steel, be it Spyderco Golden production or Taichung production, Taiwan, just like Cold Steel Taiwan production, their XHP is superb. It sharpens extremely nicely. In fact, I would almost say the XHP sharpens as a high performance powder steel. I would say it sharpens as nicely as well done 14C does. And you can sharpen this no problem on Shapton glass, your typical aluminum, like a quality aluminum oxide stone will handle XHP with no problems at all. And the edge quality that it leaves is absolutely beautiful. You don't have to have diamond. You don't have to have CBN. A good, a Shapton Koramaku plate is, or, ceramics are perfectly fine for XHP, and it sharpens absolutely beautifully. K390, same thing. Maximet's a little temperamental. Still not hard to sharpen by any means, but it is a little more temperamental. M398 can be a little temperamental. Not hard by no means, but temperamental. Rex 45, a darling steel. Sharpens easily and beautifully. Just don't be scared to try out these steels. It's fun to do. It's fun to use them. They really are. There is really a significant difference in performance, especially to users, people that are out there really working these knives. you take one person in a warehouse and throw a piece of K390 in his pocket, and you take the other one and you throw a piece of 8CR in his pocket, and they're both having to break down boxes, cut, straps, cutting plastic wrap, so on and so forth through the day. After a week, that knife right there will still be zipping through paper, super cleanly, and that 8CR will be a fully blunted edge within a day. And a week later, that K390 still just, slipping through paper like it's not even there. It's a big difference. It really is. It's a big difference. And it's fun to try this steel and try that steel and actually use them and see the performance differences and see which steel you like better. I like this steel because of how it cuts. Do I like the steels with real fine carbides that don't have as much bite, or do I like steels with big gnarly carbides that just have really aggressive edges because of those large carbides that just kind of shreds through stuff? You can absolutely feel a difference in use between steels, no doubt about it. And when you get up into the really high edge retention stuff, the difference between it and your more standard edge retention type steels, it's night and day. Somebody who has no clue, you put this knife in their hand or a piece of Civivi 14C, and they're actually using the knives, a warehouse worker. Put that knife in their hand and a piece of for 1 week, and a piece of Civivi 14C in their hand the following week, and then ask them which knife performed better, and they're going to tell you this knife went dull quickly, this knife never went dull. Somebody who has no clue, because it's that night and day difference. Just don't be scared. Don't be scared to try out new steels. Don't be scared to sharpen. Because remember, as long as you don't grind away half the blade, if you do get yourself in trouble and okay, I'm going to stop before I mess this up. It's as simple as sending an email, to me, any other professional sharpener out there, myself or any of, the other known professional sharpeners. And guess what? We're going to charge you a little bit of money, and you're going to get back a perfect knife again that's got the best edge you've ever used. So as long as you don't sit there and just go crazy and grind the whole blade away, we can fix anything that you mess up. If you see you're getting in trouble, stop, send one of us an email, we'll take care of you. I do it literally every day. I sharpen for people that have that exact issue. They're trying to sharpen, they don't know what they're doing, they're trying to do it on whetstones, and they've either rounded over their tip or they just getting their asses kicked, and they're like, hey, you know what, I'm going to stop. Let me email Joe, and bingo, a week later they got their knife back, and like I said, best edge they've ever had in their life, and good to go again. So if you do mess up, we can fix it. But don't be scared to try, because if you do mess up, we can fix it. And if you just go get a cheap knife, work on that cheap knife for a little bit on the stone until you get a feel for what you're doing, and then you're not going to have no problems anyways. Especially on, systems like this or the other field sharpener, something that's got, an angle that you can work with, so you're not having to deal with that when you're first learning. You simply lay it on there and make a pass. Lay it on there and make a pass. Oh, I got a burr, flip, do the same thing. Make a couple, once you flip the burr, you've raised the burr on both sides, or you've raised it, flipped it, then you're going to simply, with very light pressure, come back and make alternating passes with very light pressure. On, some of these steels, you don't want to touch it to the ceramic. If you don't have a lot of vanadium carbides or tungsten carbides, then you can come over here. But see, the problem here is, and I don't like this, is this is a higher angle, so it's going to micro bevel you. And you don't need to be micro beveled when you're already at 20 degrees per side. So, just simply deburr here, couple passes on a strop, and you're back to a shaving quality edge. Just trying to take some of the misinformation out of the knife community. Trying to make people understand that these steels are not as hard to sharpen as people make it out to be. And they're not as fragile, and I've already explained all that, so I'm not going to re-say it. But don't be scared to use your knives. Don't be scared to dull your knives. Don't be scared to sharpen your knives. And don't be scared to go try other steels, especially the exotic stuff, because it's fun. It's fun. They perform like a mofo, and if you use Maximet for cutting, you don't want to use it for prying, but say you're using it for cutting, that is one damn impressive steel. It will impress anybody that uses it because it just does not go dull. It'll reach a certain point, that upfront keenness will fall off, and it'll reach a certain point of, of aggression, and, you'll how do I explain it? It'll kind of reach a certain point of sharp, and it'll just stay there from now on. Like, it's very hard to get this stuff to where it will not slice paper. It just kind of reaches a certain point of sharp or dull, however you want to look at it. The edge declines to a certain point, and once it gets to that point, which is it's still plenty sharp enough for use, and it just kind of stays there endlessly. Rex 121, same thing. It just kind of reaches a certain point of sharp, and you'll lose that fine edge, and it'll get a little more dull. But when I hate saying dull because it's not dull. It'll lose a little keenness, lose a little more keenness, and it'll reach a point to where it's still sharp, but not super duper sharp, and it'll just kind of stay there from now on until you finally damage the edge. Maximet, same thing. Rex 121, just same thing. M398, kind of the same thing. Like, yeah. So, don't be scared to try these steels out. Super fun. To me, steels are the fun part of the knife hobby. Sharpening and different steels. Don't be scared. Don't listen to what people say when it sounds like bullshit. It probably is. The people who actually know, that's the ones that you need to listen to. That's the ones that you need to ask. If you really want to know about a steel, go to a sharpener that has experience with that steel. Or a knife maker that works with that steel. They're the ones that know. If they can raffle all steel names and compositions right off the top of their head, but the first thing out of their mouth after they break down that composition off the top of their head for you, and they tell you, but yeah, that is a crazy hard steel to sharpen. That's it. Stop. Listen to them, but anything they say past that point, you know that they really don't know what they're talking about. Because, I'm sorry, but especially when you're working with a diamond stone, no steel is any more hard to sharpen than the other steel. One may take a little longer, but that's the extent of it. Alright guys, I've took 45 minutes of y'all's time. I really hope I want this video here to get seen. People need to see this because it will benefit them, and it will open up, it will make people not so, hopefully make people not so scared to try these steels out, and more importantly, to try sharpening. Alright guys, I'll talk to y'all later.